We're here. We did it.
Yeah, 12 months and we're actually doing it.
Yeah.
We're on the road.
We're living the dream. So about 12 months ago, we posted a video up saying that we were doing a 12-month lap around Australia and how we proposed that we do it, I guess, kind of through the planning stage. And
Yeah, it was definitely still a work in progress then. We've done a bunch of planning and a bunch of research and we are officially on the road. So we're going to give you a bit of a run through of how we've done it, what we've done in our situation financially with the dogs, our setup, that kind of thing, and then what we've got for the future plans. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is financials. It is a hot topic and it is something that we've seen all through our research, and the question gets asked a lot. How much money do you need? What do you actually need to spend? What can you sacrifice? What do you do with your house if you've got one? How do you make it work to provide yourself an income or make it work for a lap of Australia?
obviously, it is not a one-shoe-fits-all situation. Everybody's circumstances are different. So in our personal situation, we had a house that we weren't, willing to sell. That wasn't on the cards for us. So we needed to figure out how to make that work financially, keeping the house and being able to travel on the road.
Yeah, and there's a lot of other things that we didn't really take into consideration. We had a couple of fan switches that didn't work. We had a hole in the fly screen we had to replace, and things like the tap seals and small bits and pieces around the home that really just added up to a couple of $100 like that we didn't think about that we'd have to spend on the house before even leaving it.
Yeah, so we had a little bit of general maintenance to do. It wasn't too big, but it was more labour and love that we had to put into the house. So it's a fairly new house, but we repainted the fences, we scrubbed every wall, and it was quite time consuming. But it meant that it got it ready to put on the market for rent.
Yeah, look, it was well worth it, and it did take quite a while. We spent a good part of 6 weeks or so getting the house ready before we left.
Yeah, that's working full time and doing it on weekends, but we got it there. Left with a very empty house. We sold most of our furniture.
Yeah, we got rid of some of the stuff that was mismatched or we had, lying around or was secondhand to start with, just with the hopes that we'd come back and get a whole brand new matching luxurious house worth of furniture.
We also managed to store some items, so some things we didn't want to keep, like a brand new washing machine we just bought, so we have put that in storage, and then we left the house empty to go up for rent. So a couple of financial things we had to take into consideration when renting was whether we were going to go through real estate or not. So we had 3 different real estates come out.
Yeah, we had quite a few. Very varied experiences with them and very varied rates and dollar values to everything that they did. Different structures, Yeah,
there's a lot you need to take into consideration if you are new to renting properties. It's not just, they'll say 8% here or 10% there. There's also additional fees on top of all of that, it adds up, and it might end up being a 12% or a 14% return that they take. So we actually decided to go through a private rental. We've still got a contract in place, but it was with people that we knew, and keyboard warriors will probably get out here and go, your house is still going to be trashed, you can't trust anyone, but we've got everything in place still. So we took out landlord insurance.
Yeah, we did. And the other thing to note there, I guess, is that we do know these people and trust them. Fantastic to get those guys in and make it easy for us as well. Yeah,
it timed out really, really well that happened. They literally moved in the day that we drove out of the house to leave. It was bittersweet, but it just, the timing aligned perfectly with it.
So our rental return from the house covers the mortgage, which is fantastic. In an ideal world, it would cover all of the bills, but we're not quite there yet. We still have another few things we've got to consider.
Yeah, which are utilities, usually that are associated to the house. So you can actually on-charge your water to the tenants, which is what we've put in our agreement, but the rates. We've got to remember our rates, and unfortunately land value's just gone up in Cairns, so it'll be interesting to see what the new rates value come back at. Fingers crossed it's nothing too
crazy.
Yeah, because obviously we've only taken into consideration our budget while travelling. What our current rate bill is. So we'll see what happens there. Other things you may need to take into consideration are, electrical, NBN, internet, all of that. We cancelled all of those services and just left it to the responsibility of the tenant. Obviously, there's electricity still connected to the house. And we've, the NBN line and all that, so they just have to get their own accounts and all of that sorted out of the house. So a couple of the financial things that were a complete non-negotiable, something we had to take into consideration for our lap was all of the house utilities, but also, the car insurance, the van insurance, the registrations and all of that. So we've got about $220 a week that we are out of pocket, which we needed to take into consideration for our lap budget.
So I actually have the budget right here on the laptop beside us, and originally we set out our budget and listed absolutely everything that we had, all of our subscriptions and all of our bills, and then we just kind of worked out what we could cut out and just strip back to the essentials. We pretty much kept content related things only, just our YouTube, Canva, all the subscriptions that we need to create content while we're on the road. Got out a lot of things that we don't use, especially like our gym memberships that were just kind of piling up. One, we never use them, and two, we can't use them on the road. So things like that we stripped right back.
Yeah, the other thing we stripped right back to was our mobile plan. So we were with Belong. They now bring out a plan that's $21 a month. I think you still get like...
It's about 7 gig, I think, and it adds up really quickly, especially when you're on Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so with Belong, what actually happens if you don't use your data, it kind of just compiles and keeps going. And I know 7 gig doesn't sound like a lot, but we do have the Starlink Mini. We did get that, and we have paid for the roaming plan, which is $195 a month.
Yeah, that's pretty steep.
Yeah, she's pricey. We do have a referral code for it though, so if you are interested in getting a Starlink, we'll drop the referral code down below. You get a free month, we get a free month, so you know, you're helping us out essentially.
Win-win for sure.
Yeah, but dropping down the mobile plans, you know, it was a no-brainer when we're connected to Starlink pretty much all of the time anyway.
Yeah, Starlink's been fantastic. It's something that I do recommend. We've tried traveling with the car as well, with it in the car, and it seems to be really, really good. Like, well, we can sit on 100 k's an hour and that thing still works. It just kind of is a bit hard to align.
Yeah, literally, we're just putting it on the dash. We're not putting it on the roof, and we're not aligning it. We do have a Mini, so it's not self-aligning. We do have to, you know, manually adjust it, but we just sit it on the dash, and for the most part it actually works really well.
Surprising.
Being the financial minister, which is what I think you called me in the first video, obviously I had to keep building a budget for it, so we got the budget right in front of us.
She's an Excel spreadsheet queen, that's for sure.
Oh look, you know, we had to just be prepared. So what have we listed out on here?
Oh, look, there's quite a fair bit of stuff for us. So we're traveling with the dogs. That's a big one, and that's something that I guess is hard, and it's a bit of unknown. So like, we've allocated ourselves $32 per week for flea, tick, worming, all the rest of the stuff for the dogs. $200 a week for groceries and dog food for ourselves. So it is a little bit high.
Yeah, we usually spend about $150, $170 a week at home when we buy food for ourselves. The dog food, we buy Black Hawk. It's $140-ish for a bag if you're buying it at Pet Barn with the membership. But that lasts us about 3 months if we get the 20-kilo bag.
Yeah, it's well worth buying the big one. It just lasts that little bit longer for us, especially being remote. We're not sure where we're going to get the next supply of dog food. Yeah, this is a hot topic, alcohol. So we have allocated ourselves $50 per week. Now, that's not each, that's for 2 of us. So if anyone knows me, they know that I love a beer, and $50 a week is pretty hard. I'm pretty sure we're going to have to up that one to at least the cost of a carton of gold, but we'll work on it.
You've done really well, though. You've done really well. We've 3 weeks on the road, 3 weeks on the road, 3 weeks on the road, and 3 cartons of gold.
Yeah.
Have you got any left?
Yeah, definitely. There's still about 12 beers in the fridge, so 2.5.
$50 a week, carton of gold a week. I drink wine.
Not often.
I'm not a huge drinker. I do love a cold beer here and there, but we'll see how we go with that budget. We'll report back on that in 12 months' time.
Yeah. I guess the other thing that is elephant in the room is fuel. Oh. Now, this is something that we weren't really sure of with weights. We made a financial decision 2 weeks before we left, which has added to our fuel usage. We've got the big van, it's loaded, we've got the car, we've got the dogs, we've got all of our gear packed up, ready to roll. We weren't really sure on the open road what the fuel usage was actually going to be. So we just ramped that budget right up for the fuel usage. I think we put it at 28 litres per 100 and costed the fuel around the $2.40 mark.
Yeah.
I do know that some places, especially up the centre of Australia, it can get up to the $3 and $4. So just average it around that $2.40. A lot of the times it's going to be underneath that when we're in major towns.
Hopefully.
Touch wood. Yeah, so we're just kind of running about that, and we're just going to adjust that as we travel. But what that's done is allowed us to budget for hopefully more than we need, and then come in under budget for the fuel.
Yeah, so fuel-wise, at that calculation, 28 litres per 100 Ks. We've looked at 28,000 Ks to travel around Australia. I know that 20 to 30 they say is, a lap. We've gone on the higher end of it. It's $360 a week on fuel. We've been on the road for 3 weeks and we have spent like 2,000 plus on fuel already, but we have done 5,000 kilometres, so we will be slowing down, and I hope that our budget kind of just starts stretching out and
levels back out a bit.
Yeah, it's a bit scary looking at it right now, but that's okay. Accommodation. We originally planned on free camping a lot. I mean, we've got a fully capable off-grid setup and we really wanted to free camp. When we started doing our research, a lot of people were saying that free camps in WA, aren't really available, and we hadn't really looked into anything. We've got Wiki, we've started kind of pinpointing, mapping out. There are free camps bloody everywhere.
Yeah, we found some amazing ones too, to be honest.
Yeah, we've had like I said, we've only been on the road for 3 weeks and we've come across some really good free camps. So that's our preference unless we feel unsafe, or it's really sketchy to get into, but we definitely will try and free camp as much as possible. We do have, some accommodation booked like Ningaloo Coast. We couldn't turn that up. That's not free, but it's only $10 per person a night. So
yeah, I think we budgeted about $20 a night for every night that we're on the road.
Yeah.
And then, obviously free camps make that up, and spots where we need to spend $30 to $40 to stay the night, that's kind of fine, and it just all levels out.
Yeah. Experiences. I really wanted to ride camels when we were in Silverton, and I didn't bloody get to do it, but that's okay. We've budgeted $80 a week for experiences. I think what we kind of thought about with that is not just experiences, but also the ferry to get over to Tasmania. That's going to be quite pricey. So I wanted to make sure that budget, I guess, was high enough to be able to cover that. But, I'd still really like to ride camels. I've ridden camels before in Broome. I've got an obsession with camels. Alpacas, all that kind of stuff. So
yeah, look, there's another couple of experiences that I want to do as well. All the mining history, that really excites me. To be able to go underground in a mine would be fantastic, and just to, I guess, check out anything that's behind a closed door that interests us. I would hate to get to somewhere around the country and think it's $30 to go through this door. We're not going to do it, we can't afford it. I want to be able to pay the money, go in, have that amazing experience while we're here.
And learn the rich history too.
Yeah, 100%. There's so much good information and so many cool things to see in this country.
I also think Tim would really appreciate being able to go on a fishing tour while we're up north in Darwin or something like that. So
it'd be fantastic.
Maintenance, right. We bought a 200 series Land Cruiser. We have a titanium Caravan, which we haven't shown any of that yet, but the setup that we've got, we have built to be reliable, and I know that that's not always the circumstance on the road. Touch wood. I put $50 in a week. That could be enough, it could be too much, it may not even cover it. So that's a as it comes situation.
It is. Look, and everyone hopes for the best. You just never want to have any major breakages or things that stop you while you're on the road. But I think you also need to take into consideration the servicing of a vehicle and just the general things that wear out, whether it be brake pads or tyres or things like that along the road that some people may or may not check before they leave. You never know when a ball joint's going to go or a fan belt or something quite small like that. We've met quite a few people on the road that have had small issues here and there that just add up to be costly repairs on the road because either there's not a place to be able to fix it or they don't have the tools or the knowledge to fix it themselves.
Yeah, we've been big on preventative maintenance too. Tim was underneath the Caravan in Mildura car park doing all the wheel bearings just to make sure that they were all good because they haven't been checked since we got the van.
Yeah, that's right. So I checked them really early on in the piece and we've done about 8,000 Ks since owning the van. So I thought it was a great time to strip the wheel bearings back, we'll re-grease everything, check, make sure that they're still in good condition, throw them all back in before we head off on the next part of our adventure.
The last item on the list was just a little bit of a contingency for medical and vet. Again, you never know if any of those circumstances will crop up. Hopefully they don't, but we allowed $50 a week for that.
Alrighty, the answer to the question, what is it going to cost us every single week to do a lap of Australia?
The budget came in at $1,275 every single week. Oh, That's rough. It does include all of our house utilities, registration, insurances, all the subscriptions and everything we put together for that little budget. So it works out to be about $66,000 for the year.
Yeah, that is steep. So how are we making this work?
Yes, another hot topic. Tim and I have worked very hard. We've been at the same employer 12 years-ish. You have been, I'm at the 10-year mark this year, so we've both taken long service leave.
Yeah, that was a huge deciding factor in doing the trip this year, is that we would have that little bit of supplemental income every single week for the first section of the trip using that long service leave up.
Yeah, so we're taking it at half pay, and I think it gives us about four to 5 months. I worked out that it should take us up to about October, with that half pay coming in every single week, which really, really helps us out. We weren't just relying on having that though. We did manage to save about 20K before we hit the road to have a backup. We didn't want to just rely on having that long service leave income come through.
That's right, yeah. We just tried to save as much as we could, and a lot of the stuff that we had lying around home that we didn't really think would be worth anything, we managed to sell quite a bit of it and net a little bit of income from that as well.
Yeah, it's definitely been really handy, and we've been able to build a bit of a backup to fall back on if anything happens, and hopefully we don't come in at budget and we come home with some cash.
That would be nice.
So the topic the internet keeps yelling at us about is Tim selling his 79 series.
Yes, the old chestnuts. Yeah, look, I love that car. It was a fantastic build. Sad to see it go. Definitely sad to see it go.
Yeah.
But I built that car around touring out of that car. That car was never built to take any kind of trailer setup behind it. It was never built to be a practical, reliable tourer that you could jump in all day and not be fatigued towing a 3.5 ton Caravan.
It was also a weight consideration too. You had a 3950.
Hey, she's good.
3950 GVM, but you had no increase in the GCM.
Yeah, so the GCM still remained around that 6800 mark, which wasn't enough to have that car with that setup towing a 3.5 ton van. We would have had to take the canopy off, the tent off, pretty much roll the tray back with no weight in it, which kind of defeated the purpose. Plus, a 79 on portals and 37s is not a fun car to sit in the driver's seat for 8 to 10 hours a day some days.
Yeah, plus the portal maintenance we had to take into consideration too. They had to get serviced every 5,000 kilometres.
I was doing them every 5,000, which I didn't really want to have to do, especially in the middle of the dirt and sand or wherever we ended up. Not that fun. So I looked to move into an IFS platform, and being the same motor in the 200 series, it was a no-brainer to jump into something that was a little bit more luxurious, a little bit more comfy, and a little bit more stable on the road towing a big van.
Yeah, so it wasn't just the 79. I also sold my little pride and joy, the i30N. So both the cars were sold, which allowed us to step into the Land Cruiser 200 series and buy the titanium Caravan.
That's right, yeah. So we made a really good decision, we feel, at the moment, just moving platforms and swapping over. We've stripped down to one car.
We're saving on regos, we're saving on insurances. It's something we actually did early on. So we've been in a single car since October last year, and we're now in April. Obviously, we've only been on the road for 3 weeks, so we've been managing with sharing the car and also borrowing a family member's car for that period of time, which has been super helpful.
So the dream for me would have been to jump back into another ute platform with a tray and canopy set up on the back, boat on the roof, and be fully legal. So for us, I'd love to jump into an American truck platform. What that is, I don't know yet, but to build an American truck these days, you're looking at about $250,000. And we would have had to sacrifice on the Caravan. So I think we really decided that the 200 series platform was the best bang for buck. It was lightweight, it was comfy, it was good to cruise around town if we need to without the Caravan. And with the big GVM and GCM, we can still legally and happily tow this Caravan without compromising on the Caravan that we're going to be living in for the next 12 months.
Yeah, so we did a bit of a introduction to the 200 series when we bought it. We will do a proper build rundown on it, but it does have a JMax 4200 kit in it, which means we've got a 4200 GVM and a 77 GCM. It's actually been approved post-rego. I think they said it was the 8th or 9th they've done. It's really excited that it has become available as a post-registration option to increase your GCM in Queensland with JMax. But that's just meant that we are 100% legal with the setup that we've got, and that was a big contender with the 79 series about safety, I guess more than legalities and insurance. So if, you know, God forbid anything did ever happen and you are overweight, your insurance is like, well, see you later.
Yeah, it's not worth it when you're rolling that much cash around the country.
Yeah, not at all. Caravans. Yay, we're in it. We're living in it. So in our previous video 12 months ago when we were talking about planning for the lap, we did go down and have a look at a couple of local van manufacturers, which we just weren't entirely sold on. So we flew down to Melbourne. We visited Titanium. The reason why we went to Titanium is we did have a kind of a look online, looked at lots of different specs, and they just really stood out to us.
They definitely did, and the other thing for me, I guess, is customer service and feedback from people that have been living in them and have had their vans for years. So it was a really, really strong point to go down and visit Titanium to see how they're manufactured. Being from a trade background, it was really important to me to physically see how they're manufactured and the way that they put these things together, just so that I've got the confidence when you're spending that kind of money that the van is built correctly.
Yeah, for sure. We also went through the showroom they had there, and it was either just before or after a show, so it was full. There were so many options there. I'd say there were at least 20 vans in there that we got to go through and have a look at. Size, layout, you know, design and all the pretty things for me, but also the functionality. We were originally going to go with an 18.6 rear door van, and we've ended up with a 19.6 front door.
That's right, we kind of changed our mind last minute as we were there in the factory. We went there with one thing in mind and we left with something completely different after talking to Jason and the team. Just really knowledgeable people that actually want to help us. So it was really good to visit, and we got a lot of insightful information from going to that factory.
Yeah, definitely. We have been living out of the van a little bit longer than 3 weeks. As we were cleaning the house, we decided to move into it. So the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks, we've been living out of it. And honestly, at this point, we can't really fault anything. We will be doing a van video, and we want to show you everything about it. We have fallen in love with it, so stay tuned for that, where you get all of the details on the Caravan.
Also, we're not sponsored by Titanium in any way, shape or form. This is just our true, honest feedback, and we'll be giving that to you as we travel around Australia and see how the van goes.
Yeah. Puppies. We are traveling with 3 dogs. They're in the van right now. You wouldn't even know. They're actually asleep, and they have adjusted to van life way quicker. Way quicker than I was expecting.
And travelling in the car too. That's been another thing that I was surprised with. All 3 of them in the back seat for hours on end.
Yeah, they've been so good. Where we need to adjust, I mean, we've always been big on road tripping. We do huge long drives. You know, we'll do 8 hours and barely stop. We're stopping about every 2 hours. We try and find an off-leash dog park, let them have a good run around, and then they're just, you know, zonked again in the car, but it's just, you know, breaking that big drive up.
Oh, it's good for us too. We generally try and swap drivers every 2 or 2.5 hours. So if we can find somewhere to let the dogs out, whether it's on the lead just for a quick walk, stretch our legs as well, or it's an off-leash dog park, that's the best. We can absolutely knacker them, chuck them back in the car.
Yeah. The biggest thing that we miss out on, I guess, with having dogs is national parks. Now, there was one we wanted to see in Outback, New South Wales, while we were travelling through there, which was Mungo National Park. And when I initially looked into it, I thought that we would have been able to pull up at a hip camp, which Wiki said was $10 a night, right on the border. But when we looked into it, it was actually $36 minimum. It was an hour and something drive to get in there, and then, you know, you'd be in the park. So the dogs probably would have been locked in the van for about 5 hours, which they're getting a lot better inside the van. But this early on in the trip, it wasn't something that we were kind of willing to do.
No, that's right. And I guess the other way of doing it would be that, say, I would go into the park with Brit staying with the dogs, and then we'd come back and swap, which, when you've got to drive an hour and a half each way to the park, it's just not really viable. It's not really a good option, and we'd love to go and experience it together. So we've made those decisions where there will be a few parks that we miss out on, and hopefully we find some that can take care of the dogs, or we can leave them in the van by that time and just go out and explore for a little bit while we're on the road. Yeah, and don't come at us for leaving the dogs in the van. They have been really good inside dogs. They're left in either with the fans going aircon or water, as they are when we leave them in the car if we have to go and do a shop.
It has had its benefits though. We're in Coopedi at the moment and we actually got to take the dogs into an underground opal mine.
It was fantastic, to be honest, to take them into an underground mine, let them walk around, smell everything and experience that with us was just, yeah, it was pretty cool.
People have asked us that we've met on the road if we would have left them at home and the answer for me is a big fat no. I know we'll be restricted, but they're also going to be a part of some amazing memories that we make over the next 12 months and I'm so glad that we have them with us.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'd rather do it with dogs, miss out on a few things, than not do it at all. So it's still well worth it in my eyes.
All right, well, what to expect next from us?
Well, we have that little purchase that we made a couple of weeks before leaving. So I think next up you'll see a video on that.
What was it? Are we no hints here?
Well, hopefully we don't have to paddle at home.
So we got a video coming on whatever that mysterious object will be. We will be doing a 200 series full build rundown because we bought it pretty much stock. It had the J-Max suspension in it and that was it. And it does not look or sound like it did when we picked it up last June.
Not at all. And then we may as well do a walkthrough of the Caravan and show you everything about this cool titanium.
We're not just going to be posting build videos though. We've actually been through our first little adventure of this trip so far, which was Outback New South Wales. So I guess the first lap of Australia episode you can expect to see is all about Outback New South Wales.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. So make sure you stay tuned for real raw red dirt Aussie Outback adventures.
Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Cha-ching!